good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earth?
Same genius time.
In the demographic I identify with.
I don't believe you murder.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians.
Same
Who does
genius
that?
channel.
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something,
he done
bro.
about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis. I am joined today by a man who allows his emotions, their emotions, Craig Lindo, and the man who, if he does not like you, won't control his emotions, Mo Lofty. On today's show, we will talk about mothers raising boys to be men. The NFL schedule is out and it's hot. And the King of Monsters -1. We hope to give you something to ponder. Gentlemen, what is up? How are you all doing today?
Doing well, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. Lots of moving pieces these days, but everybody is getting where they need to be.
I'm gonna steal an old Snoop line. I'm between sky and earth, not trying to touch dirt. There you go.
So what's on your mind? What's been going on since we last chatted it up?
I've really been enjoying the exchange between Kendrick and Drake and how it plays out with my clients, so to speak, just based on they've never known a world without it, right? To them, this is a new thing. But for me, like, I know a lot of hip hop heads have been waiting for this confrontation for over a decade. But for them, they've never known a world without Drake at the top of the pop charts. So it's either their king or their parents' king that is being, quote unquote, taken out. And there's different kinds of reactions to it. There's high levels of indifference because this is not their generation. They're more interested in Gunna or a bunch of other people with letters instead of actual words as their names. So, right, like that's been interesting to me. And shout out to my friends that are too evolved to care. Whatever.
What is the reaction from those that care? And Drake was the king of their hill, so to speak. How are they reacting to his? Do we call it a downfall or whatever, the attack? How are they reacting to the attacks and now the image of Drake being under attack?
Stands stand.
Okay.
Stands stand.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? So on that respect, they hate the fact of this whole new world where there's not a worldwide acceptance of their guy, right? Like, you've always known this your guy. Like, this one you could depend on. This is da-da-da. He got outdueled.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the using the words aspect of the game, he got outdueled. Some of them understand that, some of them don't. Some of them just see, oh, why are they jumping him? Others, they're kind of living through their parents because, again, this is not their guy. The clients I'm serving, Drake for them is an old guy. It's their this is what their parents bang at the house.
I got you.
So Drake for most of them is secondhand, if at all.
I got you. Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm curious because most folks in my circle, they either have given it to Kendrick in terms of the duel, and I would say a significant majority, aren't like, they're definitely not Drake stans. He might be in their top 20, but there's not a Drake fandom in my circle, minus, onesie twosies, a couple people. All right, what's on your mind, Uncle Mo? What's been popping since you last chatted with us on the show?
Yeah, I haven't been with y'all boys in like 2 weeks. Not too much, man. Just trying to finish out the year. Like I was telling you earlier, man. Huh?
Good luck.
No, appreciate it, brother. But the year is pretty much almost over. One thing that has been on my mind, and I told Carlton this when we spoke earlier, for some reason I just got this itch for fantasy football this week. So I've been just kind of going crazy researching that a little bit. But to Craig's topic, man, I think the problem, I'm not just saying this about Drake and Kendrick, is too many people worship other human beings, man, and they think these people are above like losing or above reproach or above making mistakes. Like, even just to take it out of that realm, it's like pastors. People look at their pastor like their pastor can't make a mistake. All I see is a dude with flesh like you and me. He's no better than you and I. He commits sins like you and I. People get into this habit of worshiping other people. And you know what the one thing that all religions have in common? And Carlton, you could tell me if I'm wrong on this, but they tell you not to worship man. Yeah. So I think people just take their fandom to a whole nother level and just think that a person that they enjoy their music or they like watching in sports or is their pastor or is whatever is above reproach. And that's just not how it works. It's not how it works.
No, I mean, in turn, it's idolatry. And I think a lot of times, at least I won't even say a lot of times, I say I know for me, right, when I first became aware of the term and, understood that it's something that you shouldn't do spiritually, I really thought of it from, an idol or a god or, somebody or something that I would, bow down before. But we can idolize any number of things, whether it's a person, whether it's a place, whether it's a thing. Parents are often warned about, idolizing their children, putting them above, that spiritual hierarchy. So yeah, it does happen, in the world of fandom, the world of celebrity. I mean, it's the thought leaders will suggest that it's an egoic dynamic that we do it through. But, United States, at least United States, there's a whole lot of that. That's, kind of where I wonder sometimes about the obsession with the, royalty over in the UK is like, why are they so important in, everything that we do over here? But, here we are.
And I feel like worshiping your child line had heavy segue potential. Just throwing that out there. That was great.
Well, here we are. So all right. So you all shared what's on your mind. I appreciate it. Headlines, lots of stuff happened in the headlines, but I came across this video on the internet predicated on children, parenting, and even, a couple shows ago where we got into discipline. I thought, what an opportunity to continue our evolutionary theme in terms of parenting. So let me pull that up.
A lot of these boys growing up, they only seen this frustrated, upset, overwhelmed woman either hollering at them or babying them. A lot of these men were either hollered at, fussed at, abused, or either babied and treated like the golden child of the household, and he can just do whatever he wants. He walks in the house, drops his clothes, drops his book bag. Here comes either mom or sister picking up after him. Your interpretation of men is 100% true. These modern men are softer than baby shit. And on top of that, they're not even ambitious enough to grow from this softness. Instead, they embrace it with this soft guy era or this dysfunctional red pill crap, instead of using that same energy to better themselves. And essentially, black men have become black women. But how did they get here? How did black men evolve into these softer than baby shit little people? 2 words: single motherhood. When men are being raised by women, what do you expect to happen? But you can change the narrative. How? By requiring marriage and making sure that a man is in your child's life before you have a child. And before you say, well, marriage doesn't keep men around, there's almost an 80% chance that he continues to be in a child's life even though the marriage ends. You require a man to marry you before you have a child. It's almost a guarantee that that man stays in your child's life, which means your child will not grow up to be one of these softer than baby shit men that the rest of these women have to deal with. Change the narrative. Require a man to marry you and stop running around having fatherless babies.
All right. So, without any preface, what are you all's reactions? I'll start with you, Craig.
I would concede that his statements and his presentation was a little bit hyperbolic, but he wasn't off.
All right, that's your initial reaction. Mo,
Yeah.
what's your reaction?
Well, my life coach told me not to use the word stupid, so I'll say it's a dumbass comment. He acts like men can't portray the emotion of frustration and their negative emotions onto their children. It comes off sexist to me, man. I was raised by a single mom. Carlton spent a good majority of his life with a single mom. The gender, to me, has nothing to do with how the child's going to be raised. It just depends on what the parent's doing with the child. That's what's critical. The part where he says that you shouldn't have kids without marrying the guy, right? Like that part. But men shouldn't have kids out of wedlock either. Men shouldn't have kids that they don't plan on being in their lives to raise. He's putting all the responsibility on one side when it essentially takes two people to tango. So I definitely don't agree with this sentiment. It comes off sexist to me, man. And just looking at his page, there's a lot of negativity towards women, especially the Black woman on his page from what I can see. And just ignorance to me, man. Like, who hurt you, bro? Who hurt you?
Well, all right. So, Craig, your reaction was, there's hyperbole throughout, but you saw some validity in this. So, share, go deeper with your thoughts. Where are you seeing the validity?
First and foremost, man in the mirror. First and foremost, me, right? Secondly, my peers, but I didn't start to register it till like a little after college. Like there was a rush of people that started getting married like right after graduation for about them 6 years after graduation. Like we were averaging 3-4 weddings a year. Right? Like it just felt that way.
Yeah.
Right?
We was busy.
Maybe more. Okay? And so, first, the man in the mirror. Second, my peers. Dog, you mean to tell me you don't notice a difference in your peers that are daddyless versus those that had, if not their father, some kind of male presence? Nah, there's a difference. So, yeah, like, okay, the required marriage, you need to require a commitment, not necessarily specifically marriage. I get that. But even in my role over the years in education, dog, there's a difference in the problem solving with the fatherless child and the the ones that have a father or at least a male role model. That's already been documented. So he's kind of onto something. Yes, his language is incendiary, inflammatory, and I don't know what his page looked like. All I saw was that video. But between my personal experience, first me, which I became self-aware and self-conscious of in my mid-20s when I spent like damn near a decade going to 4 weddings a year, and then also now, also in my time serving in education, like there's a difference. There's a difference.
What I'm arguing or what I'm saying is it's better for a child to be raised in a home with his mother and father. No doubt about that, Craig. Like, no doubt, 1,000% correct. But if you just had a single father raising the child and there was no mother in the picture, that would have an adverse effect too, because there's roles that both parents play that are essential in that child's development. What I'm saying is this notion you're going to blame the woman because she got pregnant out of wedlock and a father chooses to be absent and not raise his child. It seems like that's an easy way to let the man off the hook. Like, if you go in them guts raw and you get her pregnant, whether you're married or not, you need to step up and help raise that child. You need to be the man in that child's life. He absolves the man of this and essentially says, well, it's the woman's fault because she's not requiring him to marry him before having the baby. What I'm saying is the blame is on both, because you should enter into, if you decide to have a child, whether you're married or not, you should enter into it with some kind of agreement as to how you're going to raise the child, instead of just like, hey, we had a couple of shots of hen tonight, I got you pregnant, and now, you know, there is no plan in place. Or you haven't, after that happens, you don't sit down and have a plan in place. You can't just say because she got pregnant that night without making him marry her, that it's all on her on how the child is raised, is what I'm saying. The man needs to step up too.
That's fair. That's looking at saying. It more. I was coming at it more from the point of, hey, is this a legitimate reason why, using his words, some dudes come up soft as baby poop? And
but my argument to that too would be, Craig, and you know this is true, like you and Carlton and I are grown men, like, you know, this is true. Some of these dudes raising their children, they're soft to begin with. There's men raising soft boys too.
Well, and so that's, let me jump in and at least share my motivation for sharing it. One, because we did a few episodes ago talk about parenting, and we talked about fathers and the line with disciplining boys. So now we have a man speaking to women's roles, or his perspective of women's roles when it comes to raising boys. So I think, and then what added to it is the energy that he's giving it to it. As you point out, Mo, he's definitely placing all, you know, the responsibility for resolving this on the woman. You know, he alluded to single motherhood should be illegal, but again, it takes two to do the tango. So who's the criminal? If single motherhood is illegal, what crime is the man committing? So that's
require the DNA test.
That's one side of it. But the other aspect of it, and you know, this is also where I'm curious on you all's perspective, and you alluded to it already, is his energy. It seems to me, you know, when I hear people, when I hear conversations, whether, you know, on television, on social media, there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of what's wrong with men, what's wrong with women, what men need to start doing, what women need to start doing. It's a lot of the other person. And where is your responsibility to you? Where is her accountability to her, his accountability to himself, right? Like it's everybody else's fault. And to me, it just comes across as somebody who did get his feelings hurt. And like we use the platform, we have a platform to talk what we want to talk about, for others to form their opinions about what we're doing. And so in him using this platform, yeah, it looks like somewhere down the line, he got his feelings hurt, and somehow that all the women are at fault. Because, and I'll shut up after this, you know, having been raised by a single mother, she did not do it by herself. So to me, the message, the takeaway, if we're attempting to teach people lessons, is it takes a village to raise a child, or you do better if you utilize a village to raise your child, whether the father's in the picture because y'all weren't married, whether the mom isn't in the picture because she passed away, whatever imbalance life may have tossed you, use your village to create that balance. Leverage your resources. Our village of, our group of brothers, we're helping each other be parents. We're helping each other be better spouses. We're helping each other be better people. It's our village. And so, his vantage point is slanted, and he's not carrying forth, I think, a message that can be received holistically. It's the woman's fault, and it's the woman that's supposed to fix it according to him.
I just don't get, like, he would tell you he's trying to help the community, right? Like, he believes he's helping the community with this message. But dog, all this leads to is just the bashing of the Black woman. And I don't see how that is a productive manner to take when it comes to maintaining our family structure as a people. I take issue with it, to be honest with you, man. I really do.
You had something, Craig?
Yeah, well, yeah, I disagree with that. All it leads to is a bashing of the Black woman, because so far in this conversation, we're reacting to it, and none of us have bashed the Black woman or is bashing the Black woman monolith. Like,
no, not us, Craig, but I'm saying he is bashing the Black woman by saying that she's putting herself in this predicament, which is leading us to have Black boys that are soft. That there's people that are viewing his message, and there was a girl in the video nodding her head yes. Like, how does that lead to a more positive image of a family structure that's needed to raise children properly by sending out that message to the masses? I'm just not sure how that helps.
I'm more concerned with the actual issue than the image. The actual issue is that no matter the race, as I don't think I've mentioned race once, there's an attack on masculinity and manhood in general. I feel like there's an attempt to water it down and redefine it away from what it's already been genetically defined as. But whatever.
How do you see that in context of the subject at hand? Where is that?
Excuse me?
How are you seeing that? Right? You say, attack on masculinity. Where is the attack on masculinity showing up in this Instagram post?
This Instagram post is a reflection of a defense on that attack, not the actual attack.
Okay.
All right. And sometimes when people act out in defense, they overreact, or their words are hyperbolic, whatever. I'm talking about the idea, not the person, not the event. The idea is that if you raise a seed in a certain environment, the plant is going to be a certain way. This is in the books, holy books. If you raise a seed a certain way, it is going to be a certain way. So with that logic in mind, if you pay attention to that idea within this post, he's not off. It's his language.
But what is the idea? That's what I'm asking. What is the idea? So I hear what you're saying. If you raise your kid, and if you raise a seed in an environment, that's you're going to produce that fruit, right? That's correct, right? How you treat it, how you talk to it is going to be reflected in the fruit that it bears. He stated that
he just used different language.
But he's saying single motherhood.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He's saying single motherhood poisons that fruit. Is that what you're saying? Is the environment that the seed is raised in the single motherhood, or is it something else?
It's never exclusively that simple, but let's just say this. Yes, the quote unquote single mother. Look, I could have been behind my father in the grocery store today. I wouldn't know what he looked like.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know it was him.
Right.
right? Quote, unquote, maybe I've had father by community. I've picked from this mentor here, this uncle here, this teacher here, whatever.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, there's certain things I didn't know that it was appropriate to react to in a certain way as a man until during or after pledging.
That's fair.
As a sophomore, when the consensus was among men of all ages that, yo, that reaction is not appropriate for a Y chromosome.
Okay.
Look, if nobody else wants to be transparent and admit that, fine. But there was a bunch of young men raising young men, and we grew up together because some had dads, some did, but that played out. So I'm saying that there were certain protocols that maybe I would have handled the situation differently before I pledged. But
so, and you're saying that you had that experience because your dad wasn't present.
I'm saying he wasn't present.
Okay. You had dynamics that you didn't learn until you got to college, predicated on other men teaching you things. He's saying single mothers create prisoners, drug addicts, and keep the crime rates high. Those are his words, single moms. So my question to you, based on what you're saying, is that's your situation, that things are missing from your life because you lack a male presence. That's what I'm ascertaining. Is that what you're saying?
Not only I'm saying that we're saying that. Even Mo said that both parents, Mo said earlier specifically, both parents contribute. So when things are missing, things are missing. It is much harder for a woman to teach a man to be a man.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's
so
that's not our debate.
Too?
That's not our debate.
Do you believe a man could teach a woman how to be a woman?
It is harder for a man to teach a woman how to be a woman.
But would I not, if I had a daughter and I'm not in her life, right? So if I'm not in my daughter's life and she settles for a man that treats her like shit because she's seen her father not be around, treat her mom like shit, not show her how a lady's supposed to be treated, am I not at fault?
Exactly.
But Craig, my issue with what he's saying is not that a father should be present. My issue is I feel like there's this notion of like, if you're a dad, especially in our community, if you're a dad and you're present, you've done enough. Whereas what I feel like Carlton and I are saying is it's not just enough to be present. You have to actually model to your son the things that are conducive to a successful, healthy life where he has fruitful relationships with his people. Like, it's not... he's implying like if a dad was around, the son might not be a criminal, and that's just not true. What if the dad is a dope dealer and he sees his dad be a dope dealer? There's a higher chance of him becoming a dope dealer.
Now now we're adding what ifs into the situation.
But he said that. No, he said they're raising criminals.
Look,
that's what he said.
The idea of the situation is that I'm standing on the idea, harboring on a couple syllables like that.
So, Craig, you're standing on the idea. What is the idea that you're standing on? Because we're reacting to a lot of things, but what is the idea that you are?
The brother has a point. Despite the language, he has a point.
What's the point?
Now, if I'm going to harbor specifically on the phrase raising criminals, no, I don't do blanket phrases. But the truth of the matter is, where he talked about sensitive and soft, that probability is much higher in that circumstance. I've witnessed it for 1 score plus 5 more professionally, and I see it in my peers, whether they want to admit it, and I've seen it in myself.
So the idea, for clarification, the idea is that single moms raise boys that are soft. That's where you align with this gentleman.
You could pick up traits, because look, who's like, you might not get all the necessary models or role models to model proper manhood or teach manhood or etiquette or da 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 da. You might not get that, or you might get it at different stages and ages. But the fact of the matter is, I saw it every day for decades in the classroom. It's different. Even daddy alone versus mommy alone is different. Granted, but when dad is there, no matter the gender, it's way, way different.
I'm glad you clarified, because we all are agreeing on a basic concept of and reacting to different things from that's contained in this post, or contained in the post, the video.
Okay.
Because
we were talking boys. My bad.
Universally, it's in all things, and we've talked about this before, is balance. So raise a child with love in a balanced environment, right? Whatever that balance is, balance of discipline, balance of fun, balance of freedom, balance of expectations, balance of father-mother figure relationship. We agree that a man will struggle raising a girl to be a woman by herself will struggle raising a boy to be a man. That's rational, that's real. It doesn't mean that it can't happen. Yes, you can use a village. A mother can learn a different strategy. She can learn some things about what it entails to raise a boy. She can engage in clubs and associations and church. There's resources. Just like a man can learn how to do hair. A man can learn how to, do different things for his daughter. But they all need a talking to. My son, one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten as my son approaches childhood is be his dad, love his dad, but get him around some other men, just so he has other people to talk to, just so he can get other perspectives. And maybe he gets somebody who agrees with something that I said, and so he perceives and receives it differently. And so these are men advising another man that a man can't raise a boy to be a man by himself. So again, my motivation for sharing the post, my reaction to the post, is the absoluteness of his perspective when it comes to men, women roles. And it seems that I'm constantly seeing absoluteness of perspectives when it comes to how people are supposed to live. And if you drink water, get adequate sleep, and live a life in balance, you're going to be happy. So if you raise a child, you feed them, you clothe them, you shelter them, you give them love, you teach them, you expose them to things. Nobody can do it by themselves. And so you leverage your village, you leverage your resources the best you can. And when you do it from a place of love, these things find you. And it don't have to be as, frustrating and as challenging as this guy's describing. And that last piece is not excluding or removing the accountability and responsibility that we all have. It's a lot of people popping out babies with people that they don't love, and that's going to be a problem, however it shakes out.
I had a student in 2009, 2010, or 2010, 2011, around that time. Sometimes things happen, I just kind of let it ride. And she turned around and she was able to call out everybody who didn't have a daddy at home within about 80% accuracy. Her intuition was always different.
This is what I'm saying, man. It's better if a child has both their mother and father. Now, when it comes to boys and their fathers and girls and their mothers, the advantage that a mother has with her daughter is she could see through the perspective of that gender. I'm not a woman, so I don't I don't understand how to deal with certain situations that women have to deal with. That is because I've never had that experience as a woman. Just like with my son being a boy, he will go through certain things that I'll understand better than his mom because we are of the same gender. But both parents provide a critical role in that child's development. It is ideal to have both parents. But what I take issue with in this video is, like Carlton said, he is absolutely placing the blame on one gender and making and absolving the other gender from why these moms are in a single mother household to begin with. I am never going to be the one that blames the parent that sticks around. I can't bring myself to do that. If I was a crappy, shitty father and I was a poor example, I'll share. My dad used to hit my mom, and he used to cheat on my mom, and he would do all these things. And that was my example of how a man treats a woman. Now, it's something that I've never done because I just made a choice that said, I don't want to be like that. So that was a choice that I made in life, saying, I don't want to be like him. But that was my role model. That was my example in life. If I grew up to be a wife beater, is that my dad's fault?
No, it's never exclusively just one fault. Like no. I don't speak in absolutes.
And that's the problem with this video is he is speaking in absolutes.
Okay, so I personally am not speaking absolutes. So when you ask me that, I don't speak like that. Look, in terms of they absolutely cause criminals, of course I disagree with that. However, as far as the specific issue as boys raising fathers, hey, shout out Miss Sharon Lindsay. Another one of her quotes is going to make the pot again, but I'm sure you may have heard it before. Mothers, baby, daddies, maybe, end quote. Right? One parent really rarely has a choice but to stay anyway. Right? As far as that goes, though, there is an undeniable difference with the presence of dad. Let's acknowledge the other parent is forced to stay almost every time. But the presence of dad is not multiplicative, it is exponential, especially with other men. And yes, connecting in the community and you can learn some things about networking with other men. But you know what? How to live in a house with a woman? What if you've never seen it?
But I think that's also what we're talking about.
It's a challenge
because
there, right?
If you're present as a dad but not married to the mom, then your child doesn't see you all together.
Yeah, I'm not stuck on the marriage word. The presence is the big deal.
But that's what I'm saying. But if we're not married, I'm not going to be in the same house with your mom. You're not going to see us romantically, familially, all of them things, because we're not together. The child won't see that, but I can still be at all of the games. I can still, when you're at my house, provide life lessons. I can still have influence and impact in the person that you become without being in a relationship with your mother. So, but if we're talking about ideal, like Muhammad is saying, it's ideal if both parents in the house. And I would add that if we're going to be ideal, it's ideal if both parents are in the house and contributing, because you have 2-parent households that suck. You got kids, is people in jail with mama and daddy. There's people on the streets with mama and daddy. There's people homeless and all sorts of things.
That lets us know that's not the only factor.
That have mama and daddy in the house. It's a
multi-pronged thing, but it is a significant slider, right? It's
relevant. All right, so then let's
ask you a question. We broached on it before in terms of, so look, you're raising young men yourselves. how important in it is it to teach him manhood or not to be soft or toughness? Is there like what have you observed in that experience?
Mo, you got an answer?
I mean, I guess you'd have to define what you consider to be toughness, man. Like that would be where you want to start.
Actually, no. Like whatever you define it as, is that a thing for you? Manhood or toughness, is that a thing?
That's one of those things, Craig, that I'll say to you that I don't feel like, how can I put this? How I conduct myself is the example for him about how a man should conduct himself. So whether that's positive or negative, it is what it is. Do I talk to him
but
about
he got
like
something?
Yeah, but I don't like
in the crib.
Like earlier, he did something that his mom didn't like, and she was very harsh with him. But you know, he was crying because she was harsh with him. But then I had to talk with him too, and he was crying when I was talking with him. I didn't look at him and say, "Hey, toughen up, stop crying." I just wanted him to understand what he did was wrong, why it was wrong, and how I want him to correct the behavior, just like his mom did. Just like his mom did. But there wasn't a point where I was like, "Hey, you're a boy, stop crying," because he was crying because no one laid a finger on him. The reason why he was crying is because he disappointed his mom and his dad, and that was hurtful to him. So, you know, it just depends on what's going on. Now, if he's crying because like she tells him or I tell him he can't have a toy, you know, do I get on him for those tears? Yeah, but I would do the same thing if it was that was my daughter too. It's like, we don't cry because someone tells you you can't have something. You know, if you're emotionally, you know, disappointed and you cry, I'm perfectly fine with that emotion. I've never told him don't cry because he feels like he's disappointed us or disappointed his teacher. But if he's crying for like something materialistic, or if he's crying to get his way, that doesn't fly. But that doesn't fly with me, Craig, and that doesn't fly with his mom either. Now, does it irritate me a little more than his mom? Yeah. I'll give you that. I'm definitely more irritated than his mom if he's crying for something that I think is bullshit. And I will, like, you know, at a certain point, I'll look at him and be like, cut it out, or there's going to be a repercussion for this too. But if he's crying because, like I said, he was crying earlier because he was disappointed that he disappointed us, I have no problem with that emotion, man. Tears are a natural emotion. Expressing yourself is a natural thing. Some people will be like, boys shouldn't cry. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that defines whether you're tough or not.
So, yeah, and go ahead, yeah.
I was gonna say I channel both. I talk about being tough to my son, and I talk about allowing and experiencing his emotions and experiencing his feelings, whether they translate in tears or anger or, you know, whatever it is. You know, feel what you feel and allow that energy to flow. But then, you know, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do with it? I've never entertained tantrums. So, you know, I can remember vividly the first and last time, you know, he had a temper tantrum. You know, I don't entertain adult tantrums. So, you know, there's tears, there's feelings, emotions, and then there's an ability to handle those emotions from my perspective. But I also emphasize being tough more so from a resilience standpoint, you know, understanding he plays football. The hits will hurt. You got to be tough if you want to do this. You know, he's a great student. Algebra, honors algebra. How do I say it? High school level honors algebra for a middle schooler is going to be tough. And so if you're going to get through it successfully, you have to match the toughness. You cannot allow algebra to defeat you. So if you're frustrated, be frustrated, shake it off. If you want to cry because it's so hard, go ahead, cry, release it. But let's get back to it. So, again, I said it earlier, I seek balance throughout my life. Plenty of areas where it's imbalanced. So, I ain't no saint by any means. But if you're going to talk toughness, I believe you talk sensitivity as well. If you're going to talk discipline, you have to talk fun as well. So, it's all connected to me and coming back to that balance. And the earlier part of our discussion, where there's gaps, how can you balance those gaps? So I parent from that way as best as possible. There's plenty of times where I look back and say, I should have did that different. You've been too hard on the boy. You've been too hard on the boy. But, you can apologize. We make mistakes and just try to come back to it. To me,
I appreciate the response.
I agree with what Carlton's saying. If you're going to talk to me about toughness, I'm not worried about physical toughness. I'm worried about mental toughness. Your ability to persevere through the obstacles and the challenges that you're going to... I'll give you an example, man. My kid is 4. If my kid starts a season with a sports team and he finds out that he doesn't like this, he's finishing the season. He doesn't have to continue with that, but he will honor his commitment. He will persevere and finish the season. Then after the season, he can reassess if this is something he wants to do. The ability to bounce back is more critical to me in how I evaluate my kid's toughness. His resolve to keep going, even when it's not going his way, is what I'm looking for. But Craig, what I'd argue with you, my brother, and what I'd argue with the guys, that has nothing to do with the gender of my child. If I had a daughter, I would have the same damn expectation of her.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have the same expectation of her, but
it's a non-negotiable thing.
I'm not negotiating.
No, I'm talking about if you're my kid. That's a non-negotiable.
Heard, but no matter who you raise, they eventually go out into the world. They leave the nest, and there are certain traits that are viewed and valued differently on a man. I'm not saying that it doesn't have value for a woman. That's not what I'm saying, right? But a soft man. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, we've been around enough people look out for whatever to go.
I would be just as disappointed if my daughter was soft, because you're not going to make it in this world if you're not, to Carlton's point, if you're not resilient, dog. Whether man, woman, whatever you are, if you don't have that will,
probabilities for success don't change.
Let me put it this way. If I'm a parent, whether it's my son or my daughter, and they are not resilient people, Craig, I feel like I fail. I feel like I fail. I feel like I fail.
No. Okay, okay. Mm-hmm. I see that.
That's what I'm saying.
I think where I'm going on top of that is okay.
Me and you are around young people, Craig, and I know you've heard this before. They'll look at you and they'll say, well, this teacher doesn't like me. I hear this constantly. And you know what I tell them, Craig? Whether they like you or not is irrelevant. That's life. That's life. You're gonna have you're gonna have a boss you don't like one day. You're gonna have coworkers you don't like one day, but you gotta put food on the table. So you better compartmentalize that and figure out a way to deal with it.
Exactly.
And accomplish what you need to accomplish.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I do see it as different. Strong. I do see it as different how it plays out in the cultural zeitgeist. Both, whether it's a boy that's fatherless or a woman that's fatherless, it shows up. However, a fatherless boy, a boy without the proper I shouldn't say fatherless because now that sounds absolutist, but there needs to be influences there, whether you get it early or late, whether you get it from an uncle at 6, from mom's boyfriend at 14, or your fraternity at 20. You need to be picking up some things about manhood along the way so that you could be a functional, like if you really want to contribute to the whole civilization society thing, that's how that plays out. If you want to go like me, you know, live the loner life, that's cool too. Like, yeah, whatever.
I mean,
but I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you on that. There's
no, we're not.
A mom could raise her son to be mentally tough and have the skills needed for survival, but a mom would never understand what it's like to be a man. That is where it is critical to have that person in your life.
Yeah. So
you know, that is 100%.
It matters, man.
Of course. Dog, you know what the biggest, you know, when I was getting my master's, the biggest thing that determines whether a child is successful or unsuccessful in school is if they have a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
They're so much more likely to succeed academically if they have a 2-parent household, because the parents can share the burden of what's going on in that household. You know, people like to look at race and stuff to determine the success of students, but the real factor is the parents. The races that tend to have more children per parent, those kids tend to be less successful in school than people that have less children per parent. Just a fact. Because you can only allocate so much time and resources to so many people.
Look at you talking ratios. That's my subject.
It's just true.
Well, I think the take home, right, and what I do want to say is I appreciate both of you sharing your life experiences, because you both are here, so that means a man was present, but his presence in your life was either complex on one end or not existent on another. Or shitty on one end is definitely your world, your word, complex and absent in another. And it does things. I mean, I think you all have lived it, and the men you are today is a recognition. It includes a recognition of where you had gaps. My father and mother divorced when I was young. I'd say my mom didn't do it by herself. She had other women that helped. My dad was present. He lived up the street from me, and he kicked in when I was in high school to say some very clear things about what he perceived as non-masculine behavior patterns that I was developing. So
please share some of those things.
Well, the biggest thing was,
at least one,
was in how I asked a question. You know, I remember distinctly something I wanted from him or wanted to do, and I was like, Dad, what about that time, what I had said? You know, I was going around it, and he said, son, you're acting like your mother. Say what the hell you want to say and move the fuck on. Like, that's what he said. I was all right, well, give me some money. And he said, all right, here you go. And there is where my directness was born. I was like, if you want it, just say it, and whatever happened, happened. And so,
dog, I even see that in how they ask for bathroom passes.
That was one of the biggest, especially because of when he called it out, how he called it out. That was huge for me, especially because it was something that I recognized I was doing. And so he talked that behavior pattern out of me. And not to say that others didn't persist, and, you know, there's all sorts of dynamics that I could speak to in not having a 2-parent household and not seeing what, you know, a healthy, flourishing relationship looks like. But we all have gaps where you got both parents, you got one parent, you got no parent. We all got opportunity to grow. And I think collectively what we react to in this particular post is the absolutes of things, and it's not that, you know, it's an open world, it's wide open. So we steer clear of absolutes as best we can. And with that, we'll take a break and be right back. What in the sports? The NFL schedule is out. What game you going to?
I'm trying to go to see the Dolphins and the 49ers with our producer, Nitty. He's a diehard Dolphins fan. I'm a Niners fan. We already have a small wager of dinner on it. So I would love to go do that with one of my heroes, with one of my male heroes that taught me about manhood and all this good stuff, our producer, Nitty.
All right. You ascertain anything out of the schedule that excites you, Craig? It just came out. Have you had a chance to look?
I'm more excited about performances than matchups right now. Like I feel as we get closer, I might get more excited about matchups. Right now, I'm more excited about performances.
Explain.
Whoa.
Elaborate.
I want to see the first 6 games of Chicago with how they adjusted and revamped. And when the season was only 16 games long, I would say 4 games. But with this adjustment to 7, like this additional week, I want to say 5 to 6 games is the sample size I want to see. I want to see that for Chicago. I'm curious about Oakland, but there's a bias there. I want to see what McDaniels does with the Dolphins in those first 6 weeks. What is the image offensively with the tools that have been added? And I want to see performance Atlanta. It's all performance. Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, Jets more than Giants right now. Sorry, CI.
You're not going to hurt my feelings.
And the Washington Commandos.
Commandos. This is not the After Dark
Commandos
with Amish Craig show.
I said what I said.
Yeah. All right, now I'm gonna go through the weeks real quick. Week 1, Ravens at Chiefs to start the season. Lamar, Mahomes. That is must-see TV. Second week, I will give you. Woo. The NFL just knows how to do this right, man.
I wonder who works their office.
I hate to say the same
thing
twice, but week 2, the game I would look forward most to seeing is Bengals at Chiefs. Joe Burrow, is he healthy? Is Cincinnati here to compete with these boys? That would be my week 2 game for you, Carlton. Week 3, I don't see. Oh, Ravens at Cowboys.
Well, I think today looking at that one, we would definitely see that as being a competitive game. But the Cowboys not my team. I don't like the Cowboys, but I'm not sure what they're gonna put on the field. What you say, this week 3? Yeah, yep. They could be 0-2. They could be a 0-2 Cowboys facing the Ravens.
A lot of teams haven't gelled by then, and they're not looking like they're moving in that direction.
Ooh. Week 4, the game I guess I would be looking forward to seeing, and some people might not agree with this, would be Rams at Bears. To Craig's point, I can't wait to see what these Bears look like, man. I can't wait to see what these Bears look like. I also want to see what the Rams look like without Aaron Donald. Shout out to Aaron Donald, man. All-time great player. Sad that he retired.
Really?
Even though I'm happy for my 49ers that he's done.
It's interesting that he did it at the 10-year mark like Barry Sanders did. So I'm sure there's not a connection, but I'm still wondering what the connection to that 10-year number meant for them boys.
I just think, man, like for some of these guys, Carlton, that put a lot of thought into it. I've made a lot of money. I got my ring. For Barry Sanders, it was like, I made a lot of money, but we're not going to ever win a ring because I play for Detroit. And it's like, what am I doing to my body? And what does my life look like after this? So
yeah,
I think that's a
enough.
big,
enough
that's
is
a
enough.
big, yeah.
On to the second chapter.
You're not running around in shorts like basketball. You're risking something every time you go out there.
Yeah, so. No, that's fair. That's fair. All right. So I know you was going down the schedule, but I'm gonna hop in and just say, the Giants' schedule isn't as intimidating as they may have been in the past. That's not me saying any claims of where we're gonna land. But
that's what the other teams are saying about the Giants.
It's not the most difficult schedule that we've had in recent years. And the one game that jumps out for me is when we play Atlanta. So that might be, I might come visit y'all and see what my Giants.
What weekend is that, big dog?
December 22nd, I believe.
Kirk Cousins gonna light that ass up.
If he's still standing up.
I think the Giants' defense is much improved. The question for the Giants is
what that offense do. What Daniel that Jones. Offense do.
Damn, Daniel.
Without Saquon Barkley, they got Neighbors at receiver. He seems to be the only weapon. That's going to be the real question here.
And he's a rookie, so we still got to get him out there.
The big stretch for my Niners, a team that's relevant, is you saw what I did there, Craig, a little cheap shot. Week 8, we got the Cowboys at home. Week 9, we got the Chiefs at home. I think that'll tell us a lot about the Niners. We have to beat the Chiefs for our mental state, man.
For our mental state, for your mental state, for
our mental state as a team, we have to beat the Chiefs.
All right.
Like, we have to beat the Chiefs.
All right. Well, yeah, the NFL, they got what? I think I counted 6 different networks that are going to be carrying their games. They brought Netflix into the fold. They already had Amazon. They got Peacock. They got NBC, CBS, Fox. What else? Oh, and obviously Sunday Ticket and Amazon. So, all right, NFL, they in terms of the money-making machine, they seem to know what they're doing.
They got even more doubleheaders on Monday night this year, too.
So, speaking of NFL overtaking some things, there's still NBA playoffs going on. Craig and I kind of talked playoffs last week, Uncle Mo. I don't know if you have some overarching perspectives to offer, but what I bring up first is the NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. Nikola
I don't know
Jokic.
what you're about to. Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic.
What did you hear, Mo?
You heard it.
What did you hear? What did you hear? Nikola. I can't say it. Say it again, Mo. Say it again.
Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic. So Nikola Jokic.
Nah, Nikolai was dope.
Nikola Jokic.
Oh my God.
Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is the NBA MVP. Did y'all see the game last night?
He looked like the MVP.
Against the defensive MVP. Made him look like a scrub.
He's embarrassing Rudy Gobert, man.
So, Craig, I mentioned last cast about the uniqueness that I see in him, feeling like that I just have not seen this combination of athlete before. And so I doubled down on that statement with Uncle Mo here after last night's game, because I feel like somebody on TNT, or maybe it was ESPN, but somebody captured what I've seen, in that he has moves like Elijah Warren. He has shooting skills like Kareem. He has footwork like Tim Duncan. And I didn't see Bill Walton. They said that he passes like Bill Walton. I didn't come up seeing Bill Walton, but he can pass his ass off. So for me, in my lifetime of watching this sport, MJ is still number one for all sorts of things. And I'm not getting into any rankings. But in terms of combination of skill and performance, I don't know that I've seen anything like him before. And he balled out last night.
I mean, there's plenty of dudes that are skilled, man. Just, what his talent is to be so big and to be like that. Like, it just the evolution of the game, man. You can't be just one-dimensional in anything anymore. And he's just an exceptional passer. That's the best part of his game to me. Like, he is the one that is the engine that makes that team go. He gets people so many open shots. And then when they need him to score, and I know Craig will appreciate this, he's just so efficient. Like, this guy, he doesn't need 35 shots to get you the 40 points. He could get you the 40 points on like 20 shots, 22 shots. That's the impressive part of his game.
Even 18.
Yeah, like he's just so efficient, dog. Like, he's shooting like 65%, which is insane. Minnesota blew this series though when they went home and couldn't get one of those games.
Blew it.
Denver, I credit their coach, man. I think Malone is an exceptional coach. He figured something out, and once he figured that out, Minnesota hasn't had a counter for that. And it's hard to see Minnesota winning this series. Like, I just couldn't imagine them winning the series.
I think it's done.
It's hard to see. It's hard to see anybody beating the Nuggets, to be honest with you, at this point. Like, they went down 2-0 and lost both games at home, and they just were like, we'll just win the next three. We'll just go into their building, blow them out twice, come home, blow them out again. And, they have the best player in the world right now. They got a great closer in Murray, and they play beautifully as a team. So, gotta respect it.
Anything
I don't
to
trust
add,
Boston. Man. I still don't trust Boston. I just don't. Like, something about Boston is just not trustworthy. I don't trust them.
Hey, real talk. I'm already on record. As saying that the Eastern Conference is playing for no reason. They're playing basketball in vain.
I mean, Boston is a very, very talented team, man, and could they compete? Yes. But they just have these games, Craig, where they just decide, like, we're not going to show up. And I'm not sure that's going to fly against Denver, man. Like, you kind of got to put your foot on Denver's throat.
On the West Coast, the Timberwolves are showing us they got some dogs, the lead dog being Ant-Man, and I've been on here before standing by Ant-Man for maybe a year or two now. So, like...
Well, he'll soon be the best player in the league.
Yeah, he's a dog. So what I'm saying is the Timberwolves, they don't have enough dogs in their kennel.
Yes.
The Celtics, they don't have enough dog in their heart.
The problem for the Timberwolves...
I don't believe you.
The problem with the Timberwolves, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, is what the hell is Karl Anthony Towns doing? Like,
okay.
he got 20 points the other day. He got 20 points on like 25 shots.
Doug, that's what I said. They don't have enough dogs on the roster.
He's the running mate that's going to help Anthony Edwards get to the top.
He needs more dogs on his roster, especially dogs taller than 6'9". He needs more dogs on his roster.
And in defense of Rudy Gobert, because everybody's killing him because he got this Defensive Player of the Year award, and I 1,000% get it. But who the hell can stop Jokic?
No,
like,
that's fair.
There is nobody walking God's green. There's nobody, Craig, walking God's green earth right now that could stop Jokic. Nobody. Right. There isn't a man alive that can stop him.
Well, if
but there is a scheme.
Year can't.
Yeah, but the thing that's, the marriage that's beautiful, Craig. Is there a scheme? Yes. Do I believe that Denver's coach will figure out what you're doing and have a counter for that scheme? Yes, I do. I believe he will figure out what you're doing.
Counter that.
Yeah, but
I think that
Malone is like a top
what
five coach, dog. Yeah. Malone is like a
geometry with 5 pieces.
I mean,
Malone is a top 5 coach.
I think your point is valid, Craig. I think that's where you see the gap in the coaching now, right? Because whatever Minnesota did, it worked for the first 2 games of the series. Malone figured something out. He countered. And what has Minnesota done except lose 3 games badly? And the stars that were there for games 1 and 2, they hadn't shown up because even Ant, he's due a bad game. I don't know if it was last game or the one before, but he had a poor showing. I think it was last night.
Game 3.
He had a poor showing. So I think we're seeing gaps in quantity of talent. We're seeing gaps in coaching talent, and then Denver's experience clearly is carrying forward.
But I think with Edwards, I think what Denver said is like, just let him get his, as long as these other guys don't get theirs.
Because the other guys ain't getting it.
And as good as Edwards is, man, and he's damn good, he is not currently better than Jokic. Like, Denver has the best player.
Yep. Go ahead.
I do believe it's possible to scheme against Jokic, even though I know it won't be easy. It will require more than one scheme and depth on your bench. But I do believe it's possible.
The problem is if you try to double team,
he's doing all 5 of the things. He's shooting, rebounding, blocking shots, stealing. You know what I'm saying? Assisting. Like, he's doing he's in all the categories. However, just like how they impacted the ball getting into his hands in the first couple games in terms of how they pressed Jamal Murray, there are other counters to that they can implement to get back either control or make him competitive again. I mean, there's a part of me that still wants to believe in a baby Thunder, but
no, they're not ready to beat them. Doc, if I'm playing them, Craig, the only thing I could think of is I would just let Jokic go one-on-one, and he's going to kill me scoring, but at least I'm not letting those other guys get off because.
But now you have to guarantee you're getting buckets on the other end now.
Yeah, and that's what happened last night.
You got to do something.
I think that's what happened last night.
You can't double team him because he is going to pass straight over the double team, and he's making, like to Carlton's point, he is making the right play every time. Like, he is not missing the open man. He is hitting the open man, or he's hitting the man that's going to get it to the open man. The other problem with him is, when we watch basketball as kids, the big man needed someone to get him the ball. Jokic just dribbles the ball up the court. Like, he's like a 7-foot, 270-pound point guard. So, he's just so difficult to stop, man. He's just, it's tough. It's
tough. Maybe, look, on those plays where he's bringing it up, you might start with a smaller, quicker player to harass his handles as he crosses half court or as he approaches half court. And the double team that you send after he crosses half court, that player will now be responsible for him man to man. That second player will be bigger because once he crosses half court, he's now a 3-point threat. But there's different schematics to wear him out.
But okay, so you put the smaller player.
Criticized them. This is the first year that they haven't criticized him on air for looking like he's out of shape, fat boy. So that's a good sign. But they could put him to the test and bring that out of him.
But dog, he's running around in Denver in that air, and he never gets tired. He doesn't even break a sweat. Dog, when they were playing the Lakers, you saw LeBron get tired in that air. You saw Anthony Davis get tired.
That's because you're used to it. Now bring it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So when you put him in another city, he's like, this is
the heat
easy.
out of it.
No, not necessarily. Humidity ain't necessarily easy for guys that train.
I've never seen this man get tired, dog. He just looks like that. Like, I believe he's in.
Or maybe I'm mixing him up with the dude from the Mavericks that always looks out of shape.
No, that's Luka's not only looks like that, Luka's also breathes heavy during games. So that I see. I've never seen Jokic like breathe heavy, dog.
Okay, I concede. Maybe I mixed them up.
I never have seen him like hands on knees.
He gon' if I'm coaching against him, he's getting picked up 94 feet. He's gonna have to use all 8 seconds to cross half court. And he's going to have to, like, if he's going to bring the ball up, that's the cost that he's going to have to pay to bring the ball up.
Like you said, if you harass him with a smaller player bringing it up, now you have a bigger player guarding Murray, and they could just give the ball to Murray.
Murray's big also.
But that's what I'm saying, dog. If you have Murray against, like,
you can't guard Murray with
Gobert. You can't guard Murray with Gobert. He's going to kill him.
No, not necessarily him, but get the ball out of this one guy's hands. And there are forms of zone allowed in the NBA right now. Like, you just have to be creative. I'm not accepting. I'm sorry. I apologize to my coach. Yo, Carlton, this might be my ego kicking in. I'm sorry. You got me bit. I'm supposed to sit here and believe that this dude is impossible to stop. No, there is a scheme. It's a rectangle. There's 5 people. There is geometry that works.
But
I don't give a Friday what you're talking about.
In NBA history, there's no way to stop
him. And he's not fast.
You can. What was the saying? You can only hope to contain him. You can only hope to contain him. Dog, if you're a great player, this is an offensive sport.
So, but then what you're suggesting, Craig, is that Minnesota has the ability to figure it out.
Yeah.
No.
Get a damn dry erase board.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Dog, just like Jordan. You weren't stopping that. You weren't stopping Olajuwon. You weren't stopping Shaq and
He got stopped for several years. He came in the league in 84.
In those years, you're saying he got stopped. He was still averaging like 35 points a game. He wasn't winning in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then going to play golf.
Because he didn't have the team to win.
Exactly.
But Jokic has the team to win. He's not just out there by himself. He is playing with a great closer in Murray. He's playing with a great shooter in Porter Jr. He's not just out there playing by himself.
Gordon is the one that bothers me about
Gordon is balling.
He's my favorite in the series.
You can hope to contain him, but he's got other people around him that make it almost impossible to stop him.
Screw that. It's a rectangle. There's 5 people. Figure out the geometry.
If you are the best player in the world and you have the team around you to compete, you are going to win.
Best player in the world gets smacked all the time.
If you shut the best player down, so let's say you shut Jokic down, you're not
shutting him.
If I'm just playing Craig's scenario out, you shut him down, but if all the other players, if the rest of his team shows up and they're scoring and your team isn't scoring, you still lose the game. So are you just saying don't let Jokic beat you, or are we talking about just winning versus losing?
Shooting, passing, rebounding, blocking shots, stealing. He's a 5-category guy. Everything after that is not basketball, it's media. That's basketball, okay? He's a 5-category guy. He's a glue guy, but not the media type of glue guy that is rah-rah. He's a glue guy by skill set. So if you eliminate the glue, it's harder for everything else to fit together appropriately. I'm not saying it's a perfect plan. I'm just saying, hey, if you got a guy that contributes in 5 categories and you castrate his contributions, you have significantly increased your probability of success. No, this hope to contain him junk, I don't buy that. I would never say that in my gym.
Guy for 2 years.
If you said in my gym, you're running suicide.
You can't stop him from rebounding.
Yo, give me your jersey. You're a fan.
It's proven. They can't stop him. He's a 3-time MVP.
Hey,
no,
how many years he been in the league?
So your logic
I don't know
is
how many
because he
years
hasn't
he
won
been in the
MVP every year, you can stop
Not just
him?
MVP. He's been stopped. Stop this. Stop this. Stop this.
Craig, I
Mike
think,
is
but
imperfect too. Mike's overall shooting percentage is less than 50. Stop it. Nobody's like that.
He's been stopped
for the sake of keeping our generation hyper than the generation before us or after us. But going by absolute numbers, bro, he bleeds. It's geometry. Stop him. It's geometry.
So does everyone else, Craig, but they don't have his skills.
You're talking about, so help me out. You're talking about him, right? Stop him. I'm talking about the rest of the team. So you stop him, but there's talent on the rest of the Nuggets team. Right. So when you double team him, you're leaving Murray open. You're leaving other shooters open. When you're double teaming him and the ball bounces, you're focusing on him not getting the rebound. Gordon gets the rebound. So it's still team versus team. And
it is.
And Minnesota doesn't have enough to stop him and the rest of the team and seemingly score points at the same time.
You might be right about that. All I'm saying is I'm not just gonna give into that give the ball to Will mentality. Oh, you could only hope to stop him. No. Yeah, that's your take. I 100% distance myself from that. It's a rectangle. You have 5 players on the court. It's geometry. Figure it out. Great players have been beaten over the head before. It's on record. That sounds like a rollover mentality.
Nobody's saying roll. Like, Craig, you're acting like they're not trying or something. Like these coaches are just like, hey, let him score. These coaches, whether we want to believe it or not, actually know more than you and I. And they are trying to stop him. They're just unsuccessful because he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could rotate from different positions, and yes, you have to have a secondary.
You act like they're not trying
dealing with a guy from him. You're right, but it can be done. That's all I'm saying. It's doable. Don't ever embrace that mentality like, oh, I guess we're just gonna accept this gentleman.
But they're not, jabroni. That's what I'm saying. You're acting like Minnesota's coach is like, hey, let's let him go out there and get 40 points and 20 rebounds and 15 assists. They're trying.
Did it look like they were trying to you? That last game, I think I said I wanted the Wolves to win.
They're putting the defensive MVP on him, and he's just clowning him.
For the record, he's a better off-ball defender than on-ball defender.
He looked like a scrub. Then they should have put somebody off of him so that he could help better.
But if they put Towns on him, Nick knows this, he's going to kill Towns.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my original point. Timberwolves lack dogs on their roster. The Celtics lack dogs in their heart.
But so every team lacks the dogs needed to beat the Nuggets because nobody can beat them right now.
You're right.
That's like
Anthony Davis. I'm not ready to say nobody, but that look, hey, I know we didn't get there yet. Is Brunson a dog or not?
Oh yeah.
All right.
But the Knicks,
as much as Brunson is a dog, if Brunson and these Knicks run up on the Nuggets, they're gonna lose.
Oh
they're
no,
not gonna beat these Nuggets.
Oh no. Yeah, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 games at most if they run up on these Nuggets.
Oh, the gentleman's sweep.
It's just like you said, dog. Like I like OKC, but OKC's not gonna beat the Nuggets. Dallas isn't gonna beat the Nuggets. Who's left?
No. Well, yeah, the Timberwolves.
Minnesota.
Me, I feel like this is the championship.
Minnesota.
Minnesota is the championship.
By not winning one of those home games.
Yeah, Denver, Minnesota is the championship for me. I feel like the winner of this series is going to take it all.
I did think that. I thought if Minnesota. I agree with you on that. I thought if Minnesota could beat the Nuggets, they would win the championship. I really did. But
yeah, after those first two games, I thought Minnesota was a team of destiny. But I think Minnesota OKC would make for a good, entertaining series. But from my seat, the only team playing like they might have a chance to me is the Celtics, and I don't know that they have a chance. So,
and Jordan shot 49.7% from the field.
Bruh, the Eastern Conference is a Christmas tree ornament.
Yeah.
But
all right. So that's what's in the sports. Are you entertained? What have you gentlemen been listening to?
Oh, well, 2 weeks ago, man, I missed out on getting to say my top movies. So I want to say what my top movies are.
We're not at watch yet. We at what you listening to.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What have you been listening to?
I told y'all earlier, man, I've been listening to a bunch of fantasy podcasts. It's like I'm like a fiend. I'm trying
to whoop your ass.
Scratching an itch, man. I'm just, our producer has one more championship than me. I'm determined to catch him.
You, dog.
Craig, it gnaws at me. I won't lie to you, dog. That he has one more than me. It bothers me. I wake up thinking about it. I have dreams. I need to catch this man desperately. Catch this man and surpass this man.
Hey, you gonna drop $150K for info?
No, dog. I'm doing my research. And Carlton knows this. I'm just a hyper competitive person. I can't help it. Everything we're competing in, I'm trying to win.
What you been listening to, Craig?
Listening to? I admit, I have I have a select group of songs from the Kendrick, Drake exchange in 2024 here, arranged in a certain order that pleases me. I don't include that cornball AI track. As time goes on, it annoyed me more. But yeah, as far as listening to, is that in some podcasts, most of the podcasts have to do with the people who were expelled from the Iberian Peninsula at or around shortly before the time of Columbus, including that's kind of a little wormhole I've been in on that front.
Well, I think I said this before. During my work from home day, I like to play classical music to keep the brain synapses snapping. And I happened upon, I don't know what to call it, a redo, a reboot, a replay, or somebody's artistic interpretation of a Bach song, the Well-Tempered Clavier Books 1 and 2 by Angela Hewitt. So that's piano. She's a pianist. Bach was a pianist. And that song, I feel like, captures my entire life. Like her version of it, it's about 3 minutes long. And it captures the joy, the pain, the achievements, the failures, and everything in between. So I've taken to starting my classical listenings with that song, and I put it on repeat till I maybe reach the 5th play, and I'm like, okay, I can move on now. I've separated from my emotions, but I just put that out there. One, so our audience know we have diverse ears. We love hip hop, but that ain't all we listen to. But that particular song really, it touched me deep. All right, so what have you been watching, Uncle Mo? Give us a top 5.
I didn't get to share my top movies because I missed last week's episode, so I wanted to share my top movies.
Run it, big dog.
I got 6 here for you. I know it's supposed to be a top 5, but 1, The Godfather, either 1 or 2.
Okay. You can put them together if you want, because I did that with Star Wars.
I am putting them together.
Okay.
Avengers Endgame.
Say it again. I missed it.
Avengers Endgame.
That's Thanos.
That's the one where Iron Man snapped his fingers and died.
So the last one. The
The
last
last
one.
one. Yes.
Whew.
Yes. When Iron Man died, tear was shed. I won't lie to you. Tear was
I've
shed.
watched I know this your list, and I mean I don't have a list to add, but I've watched those Avengers once. I have not watched them again. It's too much emotion. The first one was super depressing, and the second one ended with Iron Man gone. Like I can't. It's too much. It's
They're
too much.
pulling on the emotional
It's too
string.
much.
I'm with you. Third movie that I got is The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker. I thought it was not only an excellent, comic book movie, I thought it was an excellent portrayal into the psyche of certain people because in that movie, man, it shows you that there's some people that are just into just seeing chaos and seeing the world burn, and you can't negotiate with these people because you have nothing to negotiate with. So I love that movie. My other three, The Usual Suspects with Kevin Spacey.
Oh, we can't watch. Can we watch Kevin Spacey movies still? We could go.
I'm not a believer that you can enjoy the art of someone without separating that they might be an asshole. Okay. So because if you played Step in the Name of Love right now, I can't help but to just. So another movie that I absolutely love as a history buff, Glory. Glory with Denzel and Morgan Freeman and Matthew Broderick is just phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal.
I think
movie.
Craig, did I have Glory on my? It's favorite movies. You gave us your top. But I feel like I had Glory on my list too.
If not, I feel like you might have mentioned that.
Yeah, Glory's.
And the last movie on my list is a comedy, but I also felt it was an excellent depiction of society. Trading Places. Trading Places is a spectacular comedy, and it's unbelievably funny, but it also shows that depending on a person's birthright or their socioeconomic status will have a tremendous effect on what that person can and will become in this life. So those are my six, man. Trading Places, Glory, Usual Suspects, The Dark Knight, Avengers Endgame, Godfather 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm added Trading Places to my Christmas watch. I rewatched it this past Christmas.
It's so funny you say that.
It's
quality. And my wife's parents watch it every Christmas.
Yeah, I'm gonna add it I'm put it in the rotation. It's a good one.
I feel it is a Christmas movie. The movie starts off with Eddie as Santa Claus pretending like he has no legs. And then when the cops stand him up, he starts talking about it's a miracle. I can walk.
All right. So Mo gave us his list, Craig. We did our list already. So I asked you the question, what have you been watching?
Disclaimer. The following statement will make me sound like a bird. I've been watching as much YouTube content as I can, breaking down lyrics and talking about the exchange between Kendrick and Drake.
Dog,
hey,
you sound
I feel like such a gossipy little bird sometimes. Because I don't usually get into that kind of thing.
Enjoy your joy. Enjoy your joy, my brother.
But
one of your frat brothers is like this too, Carlton.
I know.
There's some of us that have been
saying who I'm talking about?
Over 11 years, leave this man alone. For over a decade, we've said, leave this man alone. Ta-da.
One of your frat brothers is constantly calling me to talk about this and sending me articles and breakdowns and all of it.
Craig,
I'm not that obnoxious yet.
Craig, let me add. So you said, who said leave who alone? I want to make sure I heard you right.
The Backpackers have been telling the pop star fans to leave the boogeyman alone.
Yes.
Stop challenging him. Stop thinking you're in the same category.
What I found, I think it was Joe Budden's show, or he was on with some other folks, and I was watching their take, and they have ins and outs. They know ins and outs we don't have access to it, but they talked about Drake, I think they said he suggested he could have had a better response, but they said where he went wrong is he underestimated who he was messing with, right? But this was the funniest part. And somebody asked, well, it was like, how would he know? Like, he just did what Drake do. How would he know? They're like, dog, that's Kendrick. And that's been my take. Like, to be a fan of Kendrick Lamar's, and I'm a listener of Drake's. I'm not a stan, but he got some hits. That hotline, that hotline, whatever that was. He got
Right.
some
Bling.
Hotline Bling. He got some tracks. But I was like, there's something that I ascertained in Kendrick's demeanor and Kendrick's lyrics and what he perceives his purpose in this rap game to be. That's not somebody that you underestimate. If you want to go rap battle, you go rap battle. But to me, the things that he's done and the way that he's done it is indicative. I'm not surprised. I'll say it that way. I'm not surprised he came at it the way he came at it. I'm not surprised that Drake lost the duel, because Kendrick struck me as a thinker and a mind that will go where he got to go in order to make his point.
And quite honestly, it's his third loss.
The better battle would have been J. Cole and Kendrick, but J. Cole bowed out for whatever reason.
I respect it. I don't, I respect it.
But also, those two gentlemen battle with a different kind of conscience. The kind of conscience that J. Cole carries into a battle is not the same kind of conscience or unconsciousness that Kendrick clearly carries into a battle. But what I was going to say is, this is Drake's third loss. Check the records. The Common thing was a loss. Common out-rapped him when he tried that foolishness. That is still on the internet. And Push got him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He got him.
I'm watching Oklahoma City and Dallas.
Huh?
I said, my bad, Craig. I'm watching Oklahoma City and Dallas, and Jalen Williams just dunked on the Mavericks.
So he lost the Common and Push.
But Craig, I don't look at Drake and think battle rapper. That's never gonna play to his strengths. Like Carlton
You're right,
says,
but he chose these battles. He
thought he was a battle rapper.
He chose them.
Yeah, but he should have known better.
Not my problem.
I also think it's strange that all these rappers are going after him all of a sudden, though. I do. Like, out of nowhere, it feels like everyone is just piling on that.
Well,
dude.
my takeaway, I peeped that, and my curious mind, why are all these people coming at Drake? And
that's what I've been wondering.
It may seem, my theory is, if there's truth to be ascertained about through Kendrick's lyrics, then it's the continued pattern of the 2024 reckoning. Like, the things that you did in the dark, the things you did undercover, the things you did to try to be sneaky, they're getting called out. And so my theory is that Drake probably may have burned a lot of bridges, but
Doc, some of the people that are coming
Kendrick,
out after him have collaborated with him numerous times.
That's where I say it's a burned bridge. Rick Ross and 2 Chainz, when they did their verses, Rick Ross and 2 Chainz, 2/3 of their songs were by Drake. Drake was on all of it, but
this one.
But on the other side of that,
no, 2 Chainz did. Rick Ross did.
He's been on numerous songs with them.
I'm gonna miss those collaborations, but he's also been talking for years about how many of his friends are fake, or how many of his collaborators, how music, blah, blah, blah. He has been consistently keeping this exact energy in his mouth, album after album, for damn near a decade. Talking about how he can't trust his friends, how he can't have new friends, how this, that, and the other, and how fake they are. And guess what? He's planted seeds with that. lyrically, in my opinion. But then on the flip side, you might feel like it's 20-on-1, but it really was just 1-on-1. And even if it was 20-on-1, I don't know if you've ever been jumped before, but you always got an idea which one you need to hit to get everybody else to stop pushing forward.
But Doc, in a week,
And
you saw
why are you concentrating on all these
Kendrick
other
go after
motherfuckers?
him. You saw Ross. You saw Future. You saw Metro Boomin.
But that's part of the problem, dog. He thought of it as a 20-on-1, and even if you go back as far as the Control verse with Kendrick only saw two people in the same breath, Nas and Jay. The problem was he saw all these people worthy to respond to.
That's what Button said. That was the mistake they pointed out, what I mentioned earlier. That's where they said Drake went wrong. He focused on too many people. He should have, because he woke that bear up, he should have stayed focused on Kendrick. Yeah. All right. So all of that to say that that's what you've been watching. I briefly
more YouTube than I care to admit.
Mo mentioned, he went down his favorite movies list. One of my favorite movie characters, I've said it here before, is Godzilla. And I have yet to see the Godzilla King Kong. I've not seen that yet. But I've seen the Godzilla -1. Godzilla -1 is an excellent film. It's in Japanese. You got to read the subtitles, but it's kind of like a franchise. If you say Godzilla is a franchise, this is somebody who said, y'all have messed the franchise up. We're going to take it back to the beginning and make it a quality film, because they got Oscar nominated. They may have won a couple, specifically Godzilla -1. It is outside of the franchise that we had in the theaters most recently. But saw Godzilla -1, excellent movie. Mo talked earlier. We talked earlier about sensitivity and crying. I shed a tear. It is an excellently made movie. And it is not what we've been seeing as of late from Godzilla. It's outside of that. So it's like Dark Knight's, that version of Batman versus the Batman that had George Clooney as Bruce Wayne, which was, I think, one of the worst movies ever made. The Batman with Mr. Freeze and
who was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was so. That's where the Godzilla franchise is today. I'm still gonna watch it. It's Godzilla. I'll be there. But Godzilla -1 is artistically better. I'll leave it at that. All right.
Man, the movie that's out now that I want to see is Planet of the Apes. I've been watching those with my son. I took him from the first one to the current. Now we just need to go to the theater and watch this last one.
That was part of Willie Mae's Mother's Day. That was part of Willie Mae's Mother's Day package. She's
was
a movie goer.
Was it good? Doc, I also feel like when you watch those movies as a Black person, you're like, they're trying to tell our story through these monkeys.
Nah, it don't hit me like that. It don't hit me like that.
You really?
It don't hit me like that.
You watched the first one. When you watched the first one, you remember the scene on the Golden Gate Bridge?
Vaguely.
My mind instantly went to Selma. Instantly went to Selma, because the cop was on the horse. The cop was on the horse with the club, and he smacked one of them over the head, and it just reminded me of what happened to John Lewis on the bridge, and they were fighting to get their freedom.
I can see. I didn't see that, but I can see that, and I still say I don't view it from that lens in my watchings of the Planet of the Apes. I see people dynamic, but it's a good movie. It's a good movie. They did the cinematography is good too, because the thing that really gets
when
me,
is it?
is how real they look. Like I feel like these are gorillas and chimpanzees that I could easily just go see at the zoo.
But dog, the thing that they do crucial, and me and
stuff.
Kamario were talking about this, is how they get them to portray emotion with their body language and their facial expressions. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
They do good. They do good.
It's phenomenal.
All right. You know what it is. What have you gentlemen been reading? We start with you, Craig.
All right. Craig don't read shit. So.
So we start there. We may move on quickly.
I haven't read anything new since the last time. Concede. Except for the scripts for the state test, I haven't read anything new.
All right. Uncle Mo, what you been reading?
I've been reading up a lot on the Cold War, man. It's not the most exciting thing, but
why are you reading it? Teaching it, or you curious?
Yeah. Like I've been teaching it, and some of the stuff is very fascinating, man. Like, especially when you look at it from like America. Like, if I told you Cuban Missile Crisis, what do you think of right away?
Proximity to Miami and Kennedy.
What did they place in Cuba and pointed it towards Florida?
You said what? What's the question?
Nuclear missiles, right? They put nuclear missiles in Cuba, pointed it towards Florida. Florida's 90 miles away from Cuba, right? So we've been taught that, and it's been hammered in our heads, and it's like these evil Russians put these nuclear missiles in Cuba and they threaten to fire to Florida, right?
Right.
But dog, what most people in America don't know and what's not taught to them is the reason why the Russians did this is because they discovered that we put nuclear missiles in Turkey and had them pointed at Russia. And when we did that, they felt the need to counteract what we did. So it's like, yeah, but you see what I'm saying? So I'm always just fascinated by the things that were left out when we were
hypocrisy.
Yeah, or to also it's propaganda.
Yes.
It's to indoctrinate us to believe that they just on their own decided to point nuclear missiles at us when it was really our actions first that led to that. And when they reached an agreement to remove the nuclear missiles from Cuba, one of the things that Kennedy asked Khrushchev to promise him is that he won't mention that we had the nuclear missiles in Turkey. So, it's these things that what I was taught as a youngster, now that I further research these things, that just show me how much school can be used as a form of propaganda.
It is used.
To create nationalism.
It has been used. It is being used. It will be used.
Yeah, just, it's so critical, man, that, and I try to impress this upon young people too. Like, get information, awesome, but also take the time to vet the information, to look deeper than just one source of information, to understand all perspectives before you rush to make a judgment on it.
Good luck, Facebook. Tell that. Good luck, Instagram. That's You're right. I agree with you,
especially in this day and age.
But that's the truth is you don't know what you don't know.
And then sometimes, man, it just, to be honest with you, man, some of the things that I learn about and I read about, are uncomfortable. And it's like, why did I do this to myself? Because it can be depressing. It's like depressing when you learn about.
Not to depress you further, Mo, but food for thought. So your research provided context to what the media summary was, and that gave you new enlightenment. So think about what the media is summarizing for us now. What is the context that they're actively hiding from us right now, whether it's in Western Asia or Ukraine?
Yeah, that's my point, man, Craig. And you're right. That's why it's just critical that you investigate all kinds of news sources. Don't close yourself off to just one kind of news source. Like if you ask me where do I get my news from? Is it from Fox News or CNN? I would tell you most of the time I watch CNN, but will I watch Fox News? Sure. But when I watch CNN too, dog, sometimes I look at my wife and I'm like, you could tell that they have an agenda in how they're reporting this. Like I can see the agenda. That's why I think when you research into further things and you learn from different sources, it makes you very aware when you're watching something of the hidden agenda that the media has in how they tell the story, or what parts they include in the story or leave out of the story, or how they slickly interject their opinion into the story instead of just giving you the facts of the story. I think it's critical that we are aware that, you know, there's an agenda with our news sources.
I watch local news for local happenings. These days, I mostly consume national and global news from what I read, you know, on the internet, but through multiple sources. There's a headline. If it resonates, I dig deeper. I ask questions. I talk to folks. And to your point, Mo, what I do find when I may end up in front of CNN or end up in front of, you know, a nationally broadcast network, so to speak, my ability to see the manipulation and the shenanigans has been enhanced because I got more information, less biased information someplace else first. And so it blows my mind now when I do see Fox News, when I do watch CNN, that their agendas, an alternative agenda, is a lot more clear for me to see.
And, you know, like people make fun of Fox News, and rightfully so, because, you know, their slogan is like fair and unbiased, which is absurd. But, you know, dog, when you watch CNN, you realize like they have an agenda too, and they're definitely pushing their agenda. Yeah, they're definitely pushing an agenda.
They're not providing information from the facts alone. They're slanting it, they're opinionating it, and they're giving,
and they're trying to manipulate your thought process on what they're showing you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's what you've been reading. Craig didn't do his read. He read Kendrick lyrics. He's reading lyrics.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's been over 10 years since I actually printed out
lyrics. I'm not discussing. I'm showing the value add. He's reading.
America.
He's reading.
Carlton shamed Craig for not reading and using the word stupid. I just want y'all to know this.
Captain Narrative.
Yeah, he's
don't edit it out,
the
Joe.
narrative. He's Fox News
Captain Narrative.
Now. He's taking events that occurred and slanting them in order to achieve his objective. So,
by next week I'll be in the basement, fam.
He's not lying to you right there, America. That is accurate what Carlton just said. But
what? That you're seeing internet?
Yeah, it's my story, baby.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm still reading or rereading A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. You know, I'm reading it slower than I did the first time because I'm trying to absorb the content more deeply, because he talks a lot about ego, which is relevant in the work I do. And Craig, you jokingly talked about your ego in the conversation earlier. But what I offer for our listeners, for us to consider when attempting to ascertain is this ego, per the book, explore where we use the words I and me, because what Eckhart is talking about in terms of ego is that identification, is we identify ourselves with things, with objects, with people, with places, with titles, with roles. And that's ego that drives that, where our opportunity is being where you are, being how you are, who you are, where you are, and having, appreciation and alignment with that. When we talk about, looking at the celebrities and how our society, our culture care so much about what they do, how they move, it's because it's something that celebrity represents that they either perceive themselves as being or said that they want to be. So it's either identification that they experience or identification that they're seeking. And the identification that they're losing is that alignment with self. So that's food for thought when wanting to spend time with, is this my ego? See where you use I and me and how you apply it. Because if it's, I'm right, you're wrong, my possession, get away from it, there's ego in that. So
just to your point, man, if you are in a marriage or a relationship and you are using the words I and me and instead of we, just know it's going to end soon. It's going to end soon.
Duly noted. Duly noted.
Hey, man, You forgot to tell them, man. You said in your line of work. Where can they hear about your line of work? Where can they find it?
We didn't close the show out yet.
No, but they need to know.
They're gonna find out when they come back. That's it. That's it.
Man, when you get an alley-oop, dunk the damn ball, see y'all.
Dang,
it's not an alley. It's
Carlton.
It is
disrupting. You disrupting the flow of the show. We've been doing this the 60th episode. We've been doing this for 60 times. But we can never shout out Carlton
in his coaching enough because the people need it in order to ensure. What does that say?
It's not. I'm
mental
a coach.
Health.
You have a job. I have a job. This isn't feeding my job. So when we shout out Carlton and his coaching at the end, we don't shout out your school. We don't shout out we don't say, oh, go to Mo school. There's not the space for that. This is the space.
Thank you, Craig. Because what Carlton does is for the betterment of society and people's mental health. Carlton and his coaching, he's the man.
I love you.
Always check out my boy.
Y'all could do it at the end. It's not about that. I hear what you're saying. In my line of work, what's my line of work? They'll know how to get to me at the end of the show.
You see, America.
Ladies and gentlemen, this very humility is what makes him a good coach.
No, right. You see how he tries to control us, America. He tells Craig he can't say stupid. He tells him he shuns him for not reading. Now he tells us we can't shout him out. I got you.
Y'all can shout me out. You can shout me out all you want. I use your shout outs. I put your shout outs on the internet.
I actually did saw that. I saw that.
Yeah, so you can say what you want, but
America, you should also see how he talks to our producer, Nidhi. Oh, terrible.
All right, well. On that, we'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back, Unsolicited Genius. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, Tell us what you think. Share your thoughts. We are a show of opinions and perspectives. If you have alternative perspectives or perspectives that we might benefit from, let us know. Shout out to the super producer, Joe Nitty. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. To our sponsors, Legacy Wear, where your legacy awaits. Find out more about who they are and what they do at www.legacywearus.com. Learn more about our sponsor, Megacore CBD. Visit their website, megacorecbd.com. Broad spectrum hemp-derived CBD the way nature intended. Hydrate and elevate with Aura Rainwater. Learn more about them at www.aurarainwater.com. And last and definitely not least, Carlton Ennis Coaching, where I like to encourage folks to be your light. Learn more about me and what I do at CarltonInnisco. Got a company, CarltonInnisco.com. Before we get out of here, special shout outs. Anybody, Craig, who you want to shout out?
Look, everybody that's putting one foot in front of the other and keeping it moving in spite of whatever going on in their life. You got my shout out. One love to you. Keep pushing.
All right. Uncle Mo, who you got?
Just to all the people, man, make sure you give yourself grace. You know, you're doing a lot of positive things in life, and we tend to focus on the negative. So just make sure you give yourself grace and credit for all the amazing things that you're doing. There's a lot of positive around you. You just gotta acknowledge it and live in the positive instead of worrying so much about the negative.
All right. I guess, you know, we a few days later, but just shout out to the moms. You know, shout out to my mom, shout out to Craig's mom, shout out to Mo's mom, shout out to the women that have our moms that made us dads. You know, ain't nothing about being a mom, being a woman is easy. I don't have to know what it is to be a woman to know that it's hard at times, especially as moms raising kids. So happy belated Mother's Day to all of you. Thank you for raising us. Thank you for loving us.
Maybe this is definitely a conversation for another time, but, you know, like, it seems like there's some people that grow up and as they start to compare their upbringing with other people's upbringings, they develop resentment towards their folks. I just want to remind you that your folks, single or not, did the best they can with what they had, and you didn't come with an instruction manual. Give them some grace. They did the best they could. Be careful that you're not repeating the same mistakes while you're trying to, you know, weaponize revenge, get your emotions on for things you didn't have as a kid. You know what I'm talking about? So that's what's up.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you shared that. You know, I came across a post or read something. Who knows where I saw it, but it called for giving grace to your parents because this their first time on this planet too. Mo, you had something to add?
To Craig's point, man, just stop comparing yourself to anybody else. Stop looking at people's social media page and being envious of that. Like, my wife made a great point earlier today, Carlton. She said she was talking to a friend, and the friend was comparing herself to the people she sees on social media. But my wife was like, people only post the good things on social media. They don't post the shit that they're going through or the negative aspects of life that we all have to deal with. So just stop comparing yourself to others and just try to be the best you that you could be. And I feel like you'll find a lot more happiness.
Speak that poetry.
Inferior, superior comparisons source in ego. So it's all connected.
There we go. Oh, he took that out of you.
Just try to be the best person that you could be for yourself and stop worrying about what other people are doing.
Fair enough. All right, so Thoughts of Genius, come back to, we talk grace, we talked earlier about words mattering. The things you say, the things you produce, the things you emote have energy. And there's low vibe, low frequency. There's high vibe, high frequency energy. Apathy, depression, anger, frustration, agitation, loneliness, annoyance, avoidance, victimization, etc., is low energy. Love, gratitude, laughter, affection, connection, open-minded conversation, high vibe. When you spew things of low vibe, you are putting that energy into the world, and the energy you give will be the energy you receive. May not be directly. We see it all the time. We have a lot of people who spew hate that make a lot of money, that have fame, that seem to have the things in life that you want to have. But as most shared about social media, there are things that you don't see. And what science has shown, what philosophy has shown, what scripture has shown is if you sow it, you will reap it. So if you look at your life experience, if you look at where you are, where you're going, where you want to be, if it's not what you want, if you believe or perceive you deserve something different, you should be experiencing something different, take some time and assess the words that are coming out of your mouth, whether they be about you, whether they be about somebody around you, whether they be about the past or the future. If you want to flourish in your life and where you are and what you do and how you do it, it's complicated. It's not a snap your finger thing. You can hire a coach, carltoninnesco.com. If not, then if not a coach, if not, trying to tackle all the problems of the world at the same time, look at your words. What are you saying to you? What are you saying to others? What are you saying about you? What are you saying about others? If it's low vibe, shift it up. If for no other reason, because you want to reap something that you've sown from a better place. Join us next week, same genius time, same genius channel. And for whenever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Craig D, Molat. You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.